Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Thursday, everyone. Time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So the big day came today for what has previously been sitting on this engine stand here, otherwise known as the fuel-injected air-conditioned motor here for the 69 bay window that we call Big Blue. And the motor is still at AJ's shop. AJ as in of LowBugget. Shop is literally maybe an eighth of a mile from me. Anyway, we took the motor over there today and bolted it up to his dyno and got to work. And I was over there for most of the day, so I don't have a lot to talk about as far as what happened in our shop proper today. But let me talk about the dyno. So some challenges getting it started, believe it or not. So we hooked it up, obviously, connected all the wiring and relays and harnesses and so on for the fuel injection system, hooked up the fuel inlet and outlet. It is, again, a fuel injected motor. So if you're not familiar with how the fuel is plumbed on those, the fuel goes to the essentially like a fuel rail that can then distribute the fuel to the injectors, and then whatever fuel is left over returns back to the tank. So you have essentially like a loop of fuel coming to and from the tank, and in the middle there somewhere is basically where the injectors feed off it. So anyway, hooked up the fuel feed, the fuel return, etc., etc., etc. And guys, we couldn't get it started. And so finally started looking down the barrel of the throttle body. So again, and I'm sorry I don't have the motor here to talk about, but basically it's like a 2-barrel carburetor, center mount 2-barrel, fuel injection throttle body, but it's a 2-barrel. And so when you initially turn on the key, like as if you're going to start the motor, the injectors in each of those bores is supposed to squirt some gas, and that basically primes the motor to go ahead and start. And so what we noticed when we looked down into the essentially the openings of the carburetor there, only one of the two ports or throttle body bores, whatever you want to call them, were getting the gas squirt. And so we kind of, mainly AJ, because it's his system and he's the expert on it, obviously, kind of messed around with it a little bit, and he pulled off the side of the throttle body, which basically exposes the fuel injectors. So there's 4 little fuel injectors in there, and the plugs were plugged onto them as far as the electrical connections. He could see that those injectors were getting gas to the essentially the inlet side of the injectors, but nothing was getting past him. So super puzzling, guys. So we went ahead and swapped out the throttle body to a completely different one, which unfortunately was kind of a big job because the way that I had all of the cables and stuff routed on that, we had to basically unbolt the alternator from the alternator stand and then undo the 2 bolts on the side of the fan shroud that hold it down, and then basically lift the fan shroud and alternator assembly to get all the cables back out of there that I had sort of like routed through there to keep the routing clean. Anyway, kind of hard to explain, but the cables themselves fit through the area and they're really nice, but some of the connectors on the end are these relatively huge automotive connectors. So we couldn't just pull it back through that space. Again, I'm talking about between the alternator, and then there's essentially the intake manifold down there, and then the alternator stand, like all that stuff's right there, and those cables all run through there. And again, the cables themselves have plenty of room, but basically I routed all that stuff as I assembled the motor. So we had to kind of like at least lift the fan shroud up, probably 3 or 4 inches, and then get those cables out. And then we went ahead and put in a new throttle body, and it pretty much at that point, a little programming, and it fired right up. The reason we had to program it a little bit was that on that particular setup, the ECU that has, essentially the map of the fuel injection system, RPM versus vacuum versus fuel. It's in the ECU, which is inside the throttle body. So the throttle body we put on didn't have the correct program in it for that particular motor. So anyway, he uploaded the program, and in pretty short order, we got it started. And then, started monkeying around with it, set the idle speed, checked the timing. You basically set the essentially static timing. There's a little magnetic pickup, and then there's a couple points on the crank pulley that go by and register with that magnetic pickup every 180 degrees. So adjusted that to get the essentially 10 degree static timing that the ECU likes, and then from there it adds timing from there. It can't go any less than that static 10, but it can add, to your heart's content from there. So the 10 is kind of the baseline that you wouldn't really want to go below, and then it sort of builds the timing from there. Anyway, so monkeyed around with all that stuff, and then did some dyno pulls. And so AJ's dyno is set up a little bit different than the one that I've been using over at Brian Roth's shop. And so on AJ's, you basically just bring the motor up to a single RPM that you want to test it at, and then you start cranking the load, the water brake basically, and then you yank on the throttle, and you get the number essentially at that RPM. So versus Brian Roth's dyno, he kind of does more like a sweep, where you get a several thousand RPM sweep of what the curve looks like. On AJ's, you get like discrete points. And so we did, I think we ended up doing 3,000 RPMs, 3,500, 4,000, 4,500, and 5,000. And so again, the motor is a 2161, which is 90.5 by 84. It's got round port 40 by 35.5 valves. I think about a Engel 110 cam, and I think compression was, I don't remember, guys, maybe like 9-to-1 or so, something like that. 8-to-1. I'll have to double check on that. Anyway, so it actually made the maximum torque was 126 foot-pounds, and the maximum horsepower was 104. So 104 horsepower doesn't really sound like a lot, and 126 foot-pounds of torque also doesn't sound like a crazy number. However, it had at or near 126 foot-pounds of torque for at least like a few thousand RPM. So really nice flat torque curve, guys. It is going to pull this bus around really nice. So the choke point for that motor, as far as making more horsepower essentially, is the essentially stock dual port end castings. Even though they are match ported to the heads, which have nice round ports on them, essentially the choke point is inside the manifold, where you can't really do a heck of a lot of porting in there. And so, for this car, it is going to be very well matched. And again, so the numbers aren't, like mind-blowing or anything, but it is going to drive amazing, guys. So those are pretty much the numbers. I went ahead and left the motor there so it could cool down the rest of the day, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow and bring it back, and then probably end up sticking it in the bus pretty soon for at least for mock-up purposes, so I can finalize some of the routing of the air conditioner lines and stuff like that. And then we can at that point start thinking about putting this thing together for real here. So pretty exciting, big day actually here for Big Blue. And I'm sorry the motor, I don't have it now to sort of talk about and point things out as I'm talking, but again, it still is over at AJ's shop. So that was most of my day, guys. I was over there pretty much, doing the initial troubleshooting with him. And again, we had to pull the motor apart a little bit as far as the tin and stuff to swap out that throttle body. But anyway, so that was most of my day. Towards the end of the day, when I finally made it back over here, I did a couple very small things on the 64 here. I did take his tie rods, and knowing that we were going to have to adjust the tie rods, since we're changing, we changed the beam and everything else, certainly we're going to have to do an alignment on it. And a lot of times The tie rods looked fine, and the ends aren't wore or anything like that. However, sometimes what you find is that the tie rod ends are actually stuck, and by stuck I mean like rusted into the tie rod itself, and you can't actually adjust the tie rod. And so at that point, regardless of how nice the ends are, the tie rod is pretty much garbage. So these tie rods, before I installed them, I took them over and sort of clamped them up in the vise and used some penetrant to get the ends loose so that I could adjust them. One of them, the threads, I chased the threads with a tap to get it a little smoother and stuff like that. So yeah, both the right and the left tie rods now I've gone through, got everything loose, made sure they could be adjusted. The ends all feel fine. So no point really in replacing those. They're totally fine. And now I know that I'll be able to actually do an alignment on this thing when the time comes, because everything can be rotated as needed. Only other thing I did on here was I went ahead and put on the brake shoes and the calipers and the brake hose on each side. So I guess the next thing for this, still need to put on shocks, still need to put on the front suspension snubbers, and what else? Still need to put in the new master cylinder, which was going to work really great with front disc brakes and rear stock drum brakes. So got to put that in still. And yeah, probably have to make some new brake lines, because again, the hard brake lines up here were made for a single circuit cylinder, and of course the aftermarket ones, the two front brake ports are of course moved out quite a ways, so sometimes you can't really use the hard brake lines from the single circuit one, but no big deal. I'll either buy or make new brake lines. And so yeah, the front end of this is going to be coming together pretty quick here. Other than that, and again, I don't have show and tell for it, I did work on the Baja Bug a little bit. I put in the braces on, or the, I don't know, support brackets on either side that support the armrest on both doors. We're going to put an armrest on driver and passenger door instead of passenger only like they normally came with. And so yeah, I took one of those took both of those, mounted them up, and then the passenger door window was still a little bit tight winding up and down, so I spent some time on it with some baby powder, which I had previously done, but it seemed like it needed more, and adjusted some things in there. Again, I'm talking about the Baja Bug and just using this car as for illustrative purposes. But anyway, yeah, so I think I got the passenger door rolling up and down a little bit smoother on the Baja Bug. I want to make sure I got that sorted out before we went ahead and put the door panels in it, so we didn't have to yank door panels off and monkey with it later. Anyway, guys, that's actually it today. So tomorrow I'll bring the motor back over for this, and I'm thinking I'll probably go ahead and plumb up his oil system finally, so that the back of this car is going to be, essentially done. But anyway, for today, that is all, everyone. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.